So thank you so much for joining. This is the Exploratory online seminar number 91. Today, I like to introduce Exploratory version 7, which we just released yesterday. Yesterday, maybe I think yesterday or the day before. But anyway, so let me introduce myself. My name is Kan Nishida, CEO at Exploratory. We started Exploratory back in 2016 to democratize data science, to build this tool called Exploratory that make it easier to access and use various types of data science methods to understand your data better. We have a vision, our vision is that data-informed decision-making is essential for making that world better. So therefore, we want to make sure that we can democratize the data science so that everybody can use it. Data is everywhere now, but you need the tools and the methods. So that's the part that we want to contribute. So when we say the data science, we think in this framework or workflow, like starting with the questions, then you access the data, you transform or prepare, clean the data so that you can visualize, analyze. Then you go this process back and forth in any order until you find some useful insights. When you find useful insights to make better decisions, then usually you don't keep to yourself, you want to communicate with others so that your team or organization can make better decisions or improve the business. So the communication is also the important part of the data science workflow. Exploratory provides these 5 pillars of functionality through modern and simple UI. Okay, that's it for the introduction. Let's get started the main contents of today. Exploratory online seminar number 91. We just released the Exploratory version 7 just the other day. So I like to introduce the new features of the Exploratory version 7. When we started working on this version 7, we had 2 themes. One is a collaboration. Through the collaboration, we wanted to help our users to improve their productivity. More users using Exploratory these days, and then that means more folks are actually using Exploratory as a team, so with multiple members. So we wanted to make sure in that kind of environment, users can actually collaborate together to improve the productivity so that they can get more insights quicker and efficient way. Another thing is the democratization of analytics. We keep talking about democratization of the data science, but data science involves data wrangling, the visualization, analytics, the communication, and so on. But we wanted to focus on the analytics part of the Exploratory this time. There is this analytics capability, but because of the nature of analytics, especially around the statistical methods, some of the metrics and stuff, it kind of scares people. So we wanted to make it closer, wanted to make it more friendly. Okay, so let's start with the collaboration. The way we talk about collaboration here is really mainly focusing on the project level collaboration. So what that means? So you have the Exploratory desktop. That's kind of left-hand side bottom. Just imagine you're working with others, right? So that means each of the members have has its own Exploratory desktop. And then you want to actually work with others. So that's where Exploratory server comes in different flavors, as you will. So one is typical stuff is our public facing Exploratory server that anybody can use right away. Also, another one is a hosted Exploratory server. So that's for organizations. And another thing is if you have IT or IT resources and stuff, you have the server, you can install Exploratory server on your server machine. So that's we call it collaboration server or on-premise. So 3 different types, but it's basically the same thing. What it is actually the platform where you can share your works. So the work means in Exploratory, you can build, let's say, the chart or data itself, or you can create dashboards and notes. Those things you can actually share by publishing to the Exploratory server. Once you publish there, then you can share with others, or you can schedule it to make data always up to date. or you can interact with them by using parameters and so on. So you have the inside catalog where you have the charts, dashboard, note. Data catalog is where like you have the data. You can store the data, raw data, or the data that after like you do all the data wrangling steps. Okay, and then the last one, like the right-hand side top is a project. So you can actually publish the project itself that contains that can contain like a charts and dashboard, note, data, and so on. Whatever the one that you're working on, right? So you can publish that. Then once you publish, what happens is, let's say like you have the team, you created a team, and then you're working with others. Then you publish that project to the server. Then other team members will get this email notification. Hey, so publish the project. So then other members like think it's like, hey, you know what? This is actually important project for me. Then like they go import, right? So that they can import the same project in their own Exploratory desktop. So now this person that who just imported the project from the server might add dashboard, might add a new data or charts and so on, or maybe modify the existing one. Then in that case, if you're working with the team environment, you might want to republish it. It's basically the publish, but from the second time on, we call it republish. So that other members on the team can take advantage of that work that this person just did. So you can republish it. And when you republish it, other members on the team will get the email notification. And then they realize, okay, you know what? That's something, some changes that like I want to actually incorporate. Then they can import. So that's and then going on, on and on with this process. That's a very like high level of the project level collaboration with Exploratory. So in this version 7, what we have done is that a couple of things. First, when you publish, before you just publish a project, you have no idea what you're really publishing. So we wanted to give you more information. So when you publish, by clicking on the publish button on the left-hand side top inside the project, there is a comment and a changes tab added in this publish dialog. When you go there, what you're going to see is that like you see all the changes in the project. First time you publish, everything in the project is actually the changes. So, you see like a bunch of data frames and nodes and dashboard and so on. But at least like what is going to be published. Okay. And then make sure like you want to publish as a team. You can publish as you individual. Some of our users actually do it just to sort of like a version control at the server, or store it as a backup, or you might have multiple machines, so you can do that as well. But in a collaboration context, you want to use a team so that other members will get a notification and you can publish together and then so on. Okay, and if you don't have team, you can click on the create new team link at the bottom. And then it will open your account setting page in a web browser. And then that's where like you can add the team and also add members, existing members. So make sure like your team members already have a created account in Exploratory and then have Exploratory desktop install. Then you can add them to the team. Okay, so now like it's published, then what's going to happen is like the other members will get email notification, right? So at that point, the email includes what are the changes. So again, if this is for the first time, then you see the bunch of data frames and charts and so on. But if this is like a second time republish or third time republish or something like that, then you're going to see only the changes that are that only the changes that made to the published project. Okay, and then you think it's like, okay, this is important. I want to actually import this project, right? Just imagine this is like a first time, so user A publish, and then user B thinks like, okay, you know what, like I want to bring this project into my desktop. So what is he's going to do or she's going to do is before you had to go to the server page and download it and then manually import the project. But from this release version 7, you just click on the import project on the project list page, And this, then you're gonna see the two menus. One is the locally saved project. You can still do, like you can still download on your desktop and then import it from there as well. But it would be much better that you click on the published projects. Then you can open a list of projects, open a dialog to list of the project that are published and also available to you. Okay, so that includes your projects or maybe the projects that somebody on your team have already published. And then you can see, as you see though, like right-hand side, there's an open or the import button. Some of them is gray colored. That means because those are imported already. You have already imported this project, so you don't need to import at this point. But the second, those two projects at the bottom, is import button is green. That means you never imported these projects yet. So you can click on the import. But before you want to click on the import, you can click on the open button. That will open the server page. And then that server page will list all the changes have been done to the project. Maybe this project has been just published for the one time, or maybe this project has been there for a couple of months, and many people on the team kept making the changes. You can see all the histories as well. Okay. And then once you think it's this is the one that you want to import, you can click on the import button, and then it will import that project. Once it's imported, you're going to see this like an icon, the kind of globe icon. That means this is the project is being shared or published at the server. Okay. And then if you don't see that, that means that project is that you created it in your desktop. Okay. And then now you go in, you open a project, you make changes, you added something new, whatever you do. Then you want to make sure that new things or the changes to be available at the server so that your team members can utilize those. So you want to republish the project. At this point, again, when you click on that publish button, and then you're going to see that whatever the changes that you made. So you might have just added one data frame. You might have just added, one chart, whatever that could be. It will list whatever the changes you made. Then you can click on the publish button. This time is actually, this screenshot, it says publish, but it will say republish. Okay. And then once it's published, then you want to, other members, again, will get the email notification that contains the information about the changes, and then other folks can go to that page, log into the Exploratory desktop or open the desktop, and then they're going to see something like this. It says now the icon used to be globe icon, but now it's actually a kind of cloud with download icon. Okay, and also the green update button. That means this project has been published at the server. You imported this project before, or you might have created the project, either way. But someone else had published it, republished it, because they made some changes. So now at this point, you can click on the update button. It will show you in the dialog that what are the changes that were made in this project. And if you're comfortable with it, then you can click OK. That will override your project to make sure that your project is to be up to date, to the latest version that is published at the server. If you don't like it, you don't want to, somehow like you have made some changes, and that's kind of like conflicting with somebody else already done and published, then you can actually rename the project and then save it as something different so that you can actually import the latest version of project. Then you can go into, make changes. Or somehow like you just have clicked the OK button. And then oops, later after you imported, like you realize, oh man, like all the work I did have been just overwritten or erased. In that case, you can actually click on the ... button right-hand side of the project. And then you're going to see like a menu there. And you can click on the undo that last import. And this will basically bring back to bring the project back to the state of right before you did the import. Then again, like you still wanna update the project later. So in that case, you wanna save it as different, or maybe like you can open the project and you can download a data frame. You can download the note or dashboard. Then you come back to this project list, update it, and then manually re-import those dashboard and data frame back into that project. So either way, you can do. Okay, so now what happened to those? How many projects are there? The best way is actually to click on the import project button in a desktop, and you can see the list of the projects. Or another way is that go to Exploratory.io under your account menu. There is a menu called My Projects or My Team Projects. When you click on those, then you're gonna see this kind of like a search UI or yeah, maybe like we call it insight search, a project search, whatever the name may be, and then you can find all the projects that are available to you. Okay. All right. So that's the project level collaboration. I think with these changes, now the collaboration capability is much better than version 6. And then in fact, we have been using this collaboration capability, all this functionality internal. And as you might have known, like we published a bunch of notes, how-to notes or some analysis notes and stuff. And we actually work as a team internally, and it's been helping us to make those things quicker and effectively, and also like work collaboratively. Okay. So next one is the democratization analytics. And then what we did is we added annotation. That's really the key. So let's look at the summary view. For this, I'm gonna just kind of switch to a quick demo here. So by the way, so this is the project publish button. So you click on it and then you see, go to the changes and you see all the changes that are listed here. Okay, and then, but now this time, like I want to show you like annotation side of things. So this is a summary view. I open HR employee data. Okay, and then like I want to find, for example, let's see, here's a monthly income. Okay, and then by the way, this data, each row is each employee. And it has these columns, 26 columns are all about employee attributes like age or salary or gender and so on. Okay, and then what I want to do is like, I want to find what are the attributes that are correlated with monthly income. Okay, or maybe like there's a attrition column somewhere here. That means, given employee have left the company or still staying with the company. So what makes this difference? What are the attributes that have highly correlated or associated with this attrition variable? Okay, so let's start with monthly income. In that case, I'm going to quickly click on this correlation button. Now I'm in the correlation mode. Okay, and then what I want to do is like I want to select the monthly income. Okay, this is a sort of like a target variable. Then like it lists all the variables basically, and then draw the chart that about the relationship between the variables. Okay, between the monthly income and then whatever the given variable. And then the default by using R square, and then basically that is the strength of the correlation, and then it is. So that means like job level has the highest correlated relationship with monthly income. Next one is the job role, next one the total working years, and so on. So now here, there's R squared, 0.9017, correlation 0.94, p-value 0.001, less than 0.1. So what are these? If you're familiar with this, and then you don't need to even worry about, but if you're new to statistics and you get confused, right? Like what is R square? What that mean? Like how should I take this one? So you can actually click this number or click this metrics name, either way. And then you can click on it and it will give you the sort of like idea about this metric. So in this particular case, 90%, because R square is 0.9017. So therefore 90%, this is like about 90%, by the way, of variance in monthly income can be explained by job level. This is the variable is job level. And then like it shows you more like detailed information about the R square itself. Okay, and what this p-value means. So p-value, the relationship between monthly income and job level is significant. And what that really the p-value means. And also what other statistical tests has been used. So you can find those annotated information about that metrics. And the same way, this is the target variable is monthly income right now. But what if like I change to attrition? This is like a logical variable, right? And in that case, not the R square. R square doesn't exist for this type of analysis because the target variable is a logical, not numerical. So now it uses AUC as a default for sorting all the variables. And AUC is kind of like R squared, basically indicates the strength of the relationship or weakness of the relationship. But you might not know, then in that case, you can just click on this either value or metrics name either way, and it will give you the context. So the strength of relationship between attrition and job role is 0.6763. AUC is a little tricky. It's not like a R square, but still basically indicates the strengths. So you can see even like, for example, like what's the best case scenario, what's the worst case scenario. So 0.1 to 1, so 1 being the strongest relationship. Okay, so that's the annotation in the summary view or correlation mode. And also we have added annotation in the analytics view as well. So here I have the linear regression model I've created. And then basically the same thing, the target variable is monthly income and the predictor variable is a bunch of other variables in this case. Well, the more important thing is you want to go to the summary tab, right? And then like you see, well, that's not the most important thing, by the way. You want to go to the effects, importance, and coefficient and all that. But also you want to check like what's the quality of this model. So same thing, the R squared, adjusted R squared, and then I got different metrics here as well. And then you might want to know like, okay, what is this adjusted R squared? You can click on it, and it will give you the description of the metric. Okay. RMC the same as well. Okay, so there's some variable metrics we still haven't got around it. I haven't added that annotation yet, but those are coming within the next release as well, within the next couple releases as well. Okay, so all the most of the analytics that has a summary tab will have this annotation. Okay, so this way, I hope this makes this analytics like mostly kind of a weird part of that is those metrics that sounds foreign to most people. So we wanted to make it more accessible as possible. Okay, so those are the two things. Again, we wanted to make collaboration is easier to collaborate, improve the productivity. Another thing is that make the analytics sort of closer to more people so that they can actually take advantage of analytics capability. Okay, so with those two themes, having already introduced them, I'm going to go one by one in terms of sort of like analytics and then chart, data wrangling and data source, and also communication part, which is like a report, note, and dashboard. Okay, but the tons, I'm not going to cover, I'm not going to be able to cover all of them within the next 30 minutes, but I'm going to just highlight some of them. Okay, so analytics side, with this release, we put a lot of effort around the statistics, okay? And ANOVA is one area that we were not strong somehow. So this time we kind of like redesign it from the scratch. So to start with, like one-way ANOVA and a two-way ANOVA, like we just make sure like those things are like easier to use and easier to interpret the results. Okay, and also like we're working on other type of ANOVA as well, so such as like uncover or repeated measure and so on. So if you're interested in those, and please let me know after the seminar because we have some working prototype and we wanted to get more feedback from the actual users. Anyway, and also like we added the power analysis and then we updated the classical words test. So these are all statistical tests or hypothesis test and testing area. Okay, so here's a one-way ANOVA. We changed the format under the summary view to make it more sense and even like easier to explain, especially in the kind of classroom environment. And then we kind of this time standardized the effect effect size. So like, like most of the stuff now you see ETA and also omega squared. And then like, some of the statistical tests have Cohen's for W and so on. And again, since we added the annotation to analytics, these two, so if you are not sure like what is ETA, ETA square, you can click on the information icon and you can see. Not only that, you can see the guidance, like what does, how to take this number. It's like you get like 0.15. What does that mean? Like is it a big effect, a small effect? There is that guideline in that annotation as well. Okay, so that's one-way ANOVA. And then the two-way ANOVA is basically like you have some kind of interaction with another variable. So you want to bring another variable and see, you want to analyze the interaction between those two variables against and how much of that will have the impact or effect on the target variable. So we have the summary tab, and basically the same, very similar to one-way ANOVA. But something unique about this is that like you have the comparison tab by variable and also by interaction. These are so-called post hoc analysis or multiple comparisons and different names. But basically what you're really doing is that the main theme of this ANOVA is to answer the question of, hey, this exploratory variable and the target variable have any relationship between those two, right? But then, so you can get that answer under the summary view, but then what makes that difference? What part of that category or groups in the exploratory variable is the reason why we can say there's a relationship? So you might, sometimes you want to see more like a detail, you want to do detail analysis. That's where you want to go to the comparison. So like going there, in this case is like inside a drag variable, there's a drag A and B, and what relationship is the one makes that effect. Okay, and then you can see also interaction. Interaction is kind of like a tricky, but in every single combinations, and you can see like what's the effect, and is that significant or not. And then when you do this type of the post hoc analysis, and it's a kind of tricky thing is that because it's post hoc, so it's not just purely you do like a, for example, t-test or whatever the test and then get the p-value, because you're testing again and again and again, like every all those various combinations. So you might want to make some adjustments or correction, and you can actually do it from the property. And there's a bunch of different methods as well, if you're interested in. Also, for the two-way ANOVA, interaction is a key thing. So like when you go to the mean bracket line tab, you can see interaction chart as well. Okay. All right, so another thing is important for one-way ANOVA and a two-way ANOVA. These are the hypothesis tests or statistical tests with assumptions. So it's not like you can use it for any type of data, even though that's kind of arguable, but nonetheless, it's kind of official, formally, you're not supposed to use. And what the assumptions are, one is a homogeneity test. Sorry, not the homogeneity. Basically, homogeneity meaning it's like you have the multiple groups, then all the groups should have or supposed to have the equal variability. Okay, and that so that you can go to the homogeneity test tab and see if that assumption is valid or not. So you can see the result column says if it's valid or not. And this is basically using the prefix, default threshold value of the p-value. Okay, and then there's another assumption is a normality. So the underlying data is supposed to have the shape of normal distribution. So that's also that assumption test is also you can see under this tab as well. And then the result column says normal assumption is valid because p-value is greater than 0.05, or if it's less than 0.05, and it's invalid, and so on. Okay, so now what are you gonna do like if those assumptions are not valid? Well, still, like if you're testing like a really precise analysis, then like, that's important. And also if your data is small data, then that's important. Most of the time, like you have a bunch of data and you just do like business analyzing like business data, I would say that's still okay. But if you want to just make sure, just follow the standard, then that's where non-parametric test comes in. So one of them is the classical words test. And I think this is basically sort of like Superman because it doesn't have any assumptions for the underlying data, but also you can deal with like multiple groups, not just 2 groups, A and B. You can have like a 3 or 5 or 6 and so on. Okay, so the classical words was there before, but we updated some of the metrics name, and we added annotation, and also we added the probability distribution. This is the chi-square distribution with H value. And also we added the post hoc analysis under the comparison tab as well. Excuse me. Okay, so another thing is the power analysis. This feature itself was actually there and still there under the t-test and the chi-square test under the statistical test tab. But those, it's actually kind of hard to access or how to understand or how to use them, because those actually, you can do the power analysis based on that data that you actually use for t-test and chi-square test. But from this release, we added another menu, and this one doesn't require any data. So it's kind of weird to have that here, but nonetheless, you can select either t-test and chi-square test. This is right now we have 2, but we're going to start adding more. And for example, when you select the chi-square test, then you fill in some of the input. Then you're gonna get, how many data you need. Like they said, like 196 rows of data, people or rows or whatever you need, and then what is the type 1 error, type 2 error, and so on. You can also see sample size simulation. So x-axis is the sample size, meaning number of rows, and then the y-axis is the power. So in order to get to, let's say, like 80% power, and that means 20% type 2 error, then you want to get to that. Then in this chart is showing, okay, like you need 200 rows. If you want to get to like higher, like okay, you need 300 rows and 400 rows and so on. So you can sort of like do simulation by just looking at this chart. Okay. All right, that's about it for analytics. There are some like a small tiny improvements as well. So those are, you can take a look at that release note. So let's move on to chart. Just 3 main things. So personalization, multiple grand totals, and then we improve the radar chart. For this, I want to just focus on the personalization of the chart. So what that means is that we get requests often about the chart from the people, like from the users who create charts a lot of times, and also for creating reports for their company report or presentation at the meeting or whatever the stuff. And then the most thing is like, hey, I want to change this color palette. We have our organization standard. We can't use whatever the color. So every time I create the charts, I create a custom color palette in Exploratory, but I have to always select that thing, and it's so annoying. Or hey, I don't like the default font size or the title or x-axis, whatever. So I ended up like every single time I create a chart, I go to the property and change those font size. So can you make it easier to do it so that I don't have to do it every time? So we did. So you go to the system setting inside the project, and then we added this chart tab. Under that, you can set the default color palette. You can pick the color palette from the sort of like system color palette. We have a bunch of color palette as well. So you can change that to other color palette. Or you can create your own color palette from the menu, this same menu, the second from the bottom, or from the color menu inside the chart, either way. Then once you create it, then you can select it, whatever the color palette you created it, and then you can make that as a default. So like every time like you create a chart, you always have the same look and feel that align with your organization. Okay, so not only the color palette, you can set the default font size for the title or the value in the chart and so on. And so this is sort of like our starting point. And then if you have other setting that somehow like you have to do every time and it's super annoying, especially I believe it's more like around this formatting area. If you have such, please let us know. We are more than happy to consider those type of enhancements. Okay, so and then like once you set that up, then every time you create a chart, now you're going to see that color palette. Whatever the color palette you selected is going to be used by default. And then you can change it. You still can select other color palette as well, but just that, like you can set the default color palette for yourself. Okay, and that's about it. Oh, just one thing, because there's a slide here. So when you create a summarized table or pivot table, the default, you can set grand total. But sometimes you want to display different grand total, right? So that maybe like it's not total, but it just you want to show the number of rows, or maybe median or mean value and so on. So you can actually add more totals in summarized table and pivot table. Okay, so let's go to data wrangling. Data wrangling, couple of enhancements. First is a join dialog. So before, basically join is about like you want to join two data frames by using a key, right? So typically, let's say like you have customer data, like customer attributes, like age or whatever the background information. Another one is a sales data, and then who buy these products and so on. And then both of them has a customer ID. So you want to actually join them together. In that case, you want to use a customer ID from the data frame A, customer ID from the data frame B to match them so that you can actually join those two data frames to get extra columns, right? So from this release though, those are just equal condition, right? Like customer ID and customer ID, they're equal, then join those rows together. But from this release, we have added more operations. So not just the equal, you can do less than or between, within, and so on. This is useful for especially like a numeric or date. So let's imagine like you have like one data frame has maybe like some kind of project closed or something like that, and another data frame has the information of when this thing started and when this thing, and let's say maybe the fiscal year of the starting date and end date, or maybe like some kind of another project that's starting and end date, or this particular employee started it and whatever the stuff. But you want to actually match those information as long as, in this particular case, we are looking at close date is in between, sorry, not in, it's between start date and end date, then match them together. And you can actually do it. So we'll have more options to join the two data frames together. Okay. Another one is a window calculation. In the window calculation UI, some of the window calculation is kind of like a time or date sensitive. So let's imagine you want to do a cumulative sum, right? So as the day goes by, then you want to keep adding the previous values and on top of, adding the new values on top of the previous values. So in that case, your assumption is like, oh yeah, data is like, it's already sorted by the date column or something like that. But so typically like you do the sorting first and you create a step to sort the data, then you do the window calculation. But from this release, you don't have to actually do the sorting as a different step. You can actually do it within the window calculation and see how the data it looks like. So we added that sort data before calculation section. Okay. So that's about the data wrangling. Again, chart and data wrangling, there are a bunch of other improvements as well. So for the detail, please take a look at the release note. And then the next one is a note. I don't know like how many of you guys have been using Note, but we have the Note where you can actually create the reports and also the embed the charts and then and so on. Or you can embed the analytics charts as well. But we have created this plus button to sort of like consolidate whatever the adding things. And also we introduced a new menu as well. So first one is plus button. And then, from the typical thing is basically like, I'm going to just use here, just a little sample here. Let's say like, I'm going to just open that note. And then at this point, if I click on run button, and then I see the image from here. And this image, by the way, you can actually drag and drop or just copy and paste it. And you definitely, I don't recommend using this image because this one is going to open the file picker dialog and select the PNG and so on. Usually the way I do is just drag and drop or just copy, even like from the internet or even file system and paste it here. It will automatically generate this syntax. But anyway, so you have the here, and this is the chart that it's being embedded because you can, let's say like, I'm going to just do it here. Right here, I want to import the chart. So like you go click plus button, select the chart analytics, and then you select the data frame where you created the chart that you want to embed. And then let's say like I'm going to select this, whatever the chart, click OK. And this will spits in with the title of the chart or the tag name and with the reference to the chart. Okay. And then at this point, if I click on run button, and then I get that chart. And then, so if, for example, this one is more like interactive, so that you can click on it and see the detailed data for the particular area and so on. Okay, so now here's a chart, and so it used to be the chart icon, but now it's under the plus button. But not only that, from this release, you might want to add the button or horizontal line or maybe like markdown table or even better YouTube video and so on. So you can actually add those things. So let's say like I want to add the button and then I want to actually link to another dashboard or something like that. So you can create that as a hyperlink as well, like this. But also like you can actually create it as a button. So let's say like open dashboard. And then I thought I had dashboard. Maybe like I'm going to, this is a dashboard I have already published to the Exploratory server. So I'm going to just copy and paste that here and click OK button. And that just split this markdown syntax. It says the type is bottom and URL and the label is open dashboard. And what this is going to do is just add that here. At that button. And the same thing for example, like YouTube video, Twitter, and other things too. All you need to do is just go to get the YouTube video's URL, come here, and add the URL link, and it will embed. And then that size of the YouTube video will be automatically adjusted based on the whoever is looking at your node. Okay. So that's that. That's the note. Okay, and then the data source, we added weather data, stock price data, Oracle database. We didn't really add, we actually used to be like the weather data and the stock price data were under the extension, but many of users complain because they can't find it, or sometimes they have the hard time installing it or something like that. So now with this release, you go to Cloud Apps and you have the stock price and weather button. When you click on it, you get the dialog, you add that, whatever the stock symbol, click run button, click save, that will import that data. Stock symbol, you can actually use comma to get multiple stocks. Let's say Apple and Google and then, I don't know, Microsoft. In that case, just comma separated, AAPL, comma GOL, comma MSFT, and click run button, it will download the 3 companies' stock price data. Okay. So next one, the database is also like, you could use ODBC to access the Oracle even before, but now we have the Oracle specific link menu. And why this is actually great news for the Oracle database user is that because now with this, you can actually publish and schedule at the Exploratory server to make sure like every day or every hour, whatever the period you choose, to have the data in the dashboard or chart to be always up to date by recreating from that database itself. Okay, so ODBC, like we don't support it because you need the ODBC setup at the server side, but you can actually do by using hosted Exploratory server or collaboration server, the on-premise version, but not at our public-facing Exploratory server. But with this Oracle as a specific menu, then you can schedule it. Okay. So that's about it. But one more thing, this is for the Exploratory's heavy users. So when you have something like this and a bunch of the data frames, I have seen like if some folks have like 100, 200, 500 data frames, or even like reports. In that case, it's kind of like a cumbersome, hard to find it. You have the search area, and that you can use definitely. But sometimes when you come into the project and all you need to do is that all you want is like, hey, the one that I was working before, I just want to find it. So in that case, now we have the sort menu. When you click on it, not just the name, but you can sort by the date updated. That means last time you touch is going to be show up at the top. Okay, and then when you click on again, then basically do that different orders. I mean, descending or ascending. So it changes the direction. Okay, so I think this is to me, actually my secret sort of like a favorite, even if to be honest, even more than collaboration, more than analytics and anything, because I have tons of data frames in the project. It's always hard to find it. So like I use this all the time. Okay. Anyway, I think that's the last one. And then I think that's pretty much for that version 7.0. Oh, sorry. But let me just go to here. Like, so you go to the Exploratory, that's already available. Only thing is the public version hasn't been released yet for the 7.0. So if you're public edition users, stay tuned. We are working on it right now. But if you're the regular Exploratory personal, business or academic plan, then you can actually go to the Exploratory page and then go to download. And then this 7.0 is available for you. And then you can go to the release note to see what are the other enhancements and also bug fixes. Okay, so there are actually breaking changes with this release. One is that anomaly detection with the time series used to be under the time series analysis. That's actually de-supported. So so that's not there. Another thing is, this is a small minor thing that for the linear regressions or logistic regression, we remove the coefficient significant tab, because basically the regular coefficient tab does the job. So it's kind of like taking up the real estate, but not really adding much value. So we remove that. Another thing is that Twitter data source, that's also de-supported. That's because the Twitter changed the some rule for the around the API. So there's no free version of accessing the API, Twitter data anymore. So we de-support it. So you so those are the breaking changes with this release. Okay. Other than that, I think that's it for today's version 7's introduction seminar. And please download and upgrade today. For the future seminar, and you can always go to our website, exploratory.io. Under the Learn, you go to online seminar, and then you can find our future events and also the past recording. And also we have tutorials and video. The ANOVA that we added, I have written some of the notes around that as well. So if you're interested, please take a look. And with that, thank you so much for joining this seminar. My information is you can reach me at exploratory.io anytime. And also we have the Twitter, Exploratory Data. We make announcements. We have been doing a sneak preview of the 7.0. We used to call 6.13, and then last minute we changed the name to 7.0. But you can find those new feature information, and also any announcements, like seminar and so on. We make the announcements there. So please follow. And with that, If you have any questions, please let me know.